I sprawled across the couch, laptop balanced on my knees, scrolling through a flood of unread emails. The suburban hum of the fridge droned in the background, a lazy Tuesday afternoon stretching out before me. Sunlight filtered through the blinds, casting stripes across the hardwood. I rubbed my eyes, debating coffee, when my phone buzzed on the coffee table. An unknown number flashed on the screen. Another damn robocall, I figured, snatching it up with a groan. Yeah, hello? I said, thumb hovering over the end call button. Mr. Thompson? The voice was rough, clipped, like gravel under boots. Officer Daniels, Sheriff's Department. I bolted upright, laptop sliding to the cushion. My pulse kicked up a notch. Yeah, this is Mike. What's this about? It's your wife, Sarah Thompson. She's been arrested, public indecency. The room spun. My grip tightened on the phone, knuckles whitening. Arrested? What the hell are you talking about? Caught in a compromising position with a man at that old motel off Route 9, Daniel said, flat and unyielding. We need you at the station. My jaw clenched. Compromising position? With who? Jake Wilson. You know him? Jake. That name sliced through the fog. Sarah's high school buddy, the guy from the reunion last summer. I had shaken his hand, laughed at his dumb stories. Yeah, I muttered, voice low. I know him. She's asking for you. Can you come down? Sure, yeah, I'll be there. I stabbed the end call button, the phone clattering onto the table. My breath hitched, sharp and uneven. Arrested. Sarah, Jake. The words ricocheted in my skull, refusing to settle. I paced, my boots thudding against the floor, the house suddenly too quiet. The wedding photo on the mantel stared back Sarah's smile, my arm around her, a life I thought I knew. Now it mocked me. I raked a hand through my hair, muttering, this can't be real. No way. But it was. The late night she'd blamed on work, the text she'd brushed off signs I'd ignored. Anger flared, hot and jagged, mixing with a sick twist of betrayal. I grabbed the edge of the counter, nails digging into wood, then spun toward the garage. Keys jangled as I swiped them up, the cool metal grounding me for a split second. I needed answers, needed to see her face, hear her voice, even if it gutted me. The garage door rattled open and I slid into the driver's seat, catching my reflection in the rearview, pale, wild-eyed, a stranger. Well, I snorted, a bitter edge to my voice. Guess Tuesday's not boring anymore. The engine roared to life, tires squealing as I peeled out toward the station. Whatever waited there, one thing was clear. My world had just cracked wide open. I slammed the front door behind me, the echo bouncing off the walls like a gunshot. The house felt different, Thalo, like it knew something I didn't. My boots thudded against the hardwood as I stalked to the bedroom, each step heavier than the last. Sarah's stuff was everywhere, her sweater draped over the chair, her perfume lingering in the air. It used to smell like home. Now it just smelled like lies. I yanked open her closet, rifling through hangers, tossing shoes aside. Nothing, just clothes and old boxes. My hands shook, frustration boiling over. Where would she hide it? I spun around, eyes landing on her laptop, perched innocently on the nightstand. Of course. I grabbed it, flipped it open, and powered it on. The screen flickered to life, asking for a password. I typed in her usual anniversary. Wrong. My jaw clenched. I tried her birthday. Access granted. Idiot. She hadn't even bothered to change it. Her desktop was a mess of folders and icons. I clicked through, heart pounding, until I found a folder labeled Work Stuff. Yeah, right. Inside, a subfolder. Private. I hesitated, thumb hovering over the trackpad. Did I really want to see this? Too late. I clicked. Photos. Dozens of them. Sarah and Jake grinning like teenagers at a diner, his arm slung around her shoulder. Another of them hiking, her head tilted back in laughter. Then, the worst one. Them kissing, his hands on her waist, her fingers in his hair. My stomach churned, bile rising in my throat. I scrolled down, each image a fresh stab. And then the posts. She'd been bragging about their adventures on a private Instagram account. Living my best life, one caption read, with a winking emoji. My fists clenched, nails digging into my palms. The laptop pinged. A message notification popped up in the corner. Then another, and another. I clicked on the chat icon. Strangers women I didn't know sending me links to her account. Your wife's cheating, one said. Check her posts, another urged. My face burned, humiliation crashing over me like a wave. They knew, everyone knew but me. I slammed the laptop shut, chest heaving. The room spun, walls closing in. I needed air. I stumbled to the kitchen, grabbed a glass, and filled it with water, but my hands shook so bad half of it splashed onto the counter. Damn it, I muttered, wiping it with my sleeve. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I ignored it. It buzzed again. With a growl, I pulled it out. Tom, you good? His text read. I snorted. Good? I was a walking dumpster fire. But I needed someone. Anyone. I dialed his number, pacing the kitchen. Yo, Mike, what's up? Tom's voice was casual like always. She's cheating, I blurted. With Jake. They got arrested together. Public indecency. Silence. Then, holy shit. Are you serious? Yeah, I found photos, messages, everything. Man, that's messed up. You okay? I laughed, a bitter sound. No, I'm not okay. I'm pissed. You need backup? Eric's here too. I exhaled, shoulders sagging. Yeah, come over. 15 minutes later, Tom and Eric sat on my couch, beers in hand, while I paced like a caged animal. Tom leaned forward, elbows on his knees. So, what's the plan? Plan? I stopped, glaring at the floor. I want to burn her shit and kick her out. Eric raised an eyebrow. That's one way. But you gotta be smart about this. Smart? I snapped. She's screwing around, and I'm supposed to be smart? Yeah, Eric said, calm as ever. You don't want her walking away with half your stuff. I ran a hand through my hair, tugging at the roots. He was right. I needed to think straight. I'll call a lawyer, Jennifer. She's good. Tom nodded. Good call. Get her on it as soon as possible. I grabbed my phone, scrolling through contacts until I found her number. My thumb hovered over the call button, a flicker of doubt creeping in. Was this really happening? Was I really about to divorce my wife? The woman I'd promised forever to? But then I glanced at the laptop, still open on the counter, the evidence glaring back at me. My jaw tightened. Yeah, I was. I hit call. Jennifer picked up on the second ring. Mike? Been a while. Hey, Jen, I need your help. It's about Sarah. Her tone shifted. Professional. What's going on? She's cheating. Got arrested with the guy. I want a divorce. A pause. I'm sorry to hear that. We'll get it sorted. Can you come by tomorrow? Yeah, first thing. Good. Bring any evidence you have. Texts, photos, whatever. Got it. I hung up, a strange calm settling over me. It wasn't relief not yet, but it was something. A step forward. Tom clapped me on the back. You're doing the right thing, man. Eric raised his beer. To new beginnings. I grabbed my own bottle, clinking it against his. To burning bridges. A couple days later, I was nursing a coffee at the kitchen table when the mail slot clattered. Among the bills and junk was a plain white envelope, my name scratched across it in Sarah's handwriting. My stomach knotted. I glared at it, half expecting it to combust, then grabbed it and tore it open with a quick rip. Her words tumbled out, frantic and sloppy. Mike, it's all a misunderstanding. Jake and I were just talking, and things got out of hand. I swear, it's not what you think. I love you, only you. Please, let's work through this together. I'll do anything. I'm pleading guilty to get out faster. Don't give up on us. I read it twice. my teeth grinding harder with every sentence. Misunderstanding, talking, bullshit. I'd seen the photos, the social media posts. Did she think I was that dumb? I balled the letter up and flung it onto the table like it was garbage. Tom and Eric were due over for poker night anyway, perfect timing. I snapped a pic of the letter and fired it off to our group chat. Check out this masterpiece, I typed. Tom shot back. What? She serious? Eric, bro, she's delusional. I smirked, pouring more coffee. The doorbell buzzed, and I let them in, the crumpled letter still sitting there like a punchline. Tom snatched it up, scanning it with a scowl. This is pathetic. Just talking. In a motel room? Eric peeked over, reading aloud in a fake, syrupy tone. I love only you. Sure, that's why she's posting kissy pics with Jake. I dropped into a chair, massaging my temples. She's full of it. Thinks I'll swallow this crap. Tom lobbed the letter back onto the table. You're not, right? Hell no. I yanked the beer from the fridge, popping the cap with a sharp twist. But it ticks me off. Does she think I'm blind? Eric shrugged, cracking his own beer. She's desperate, probably freaking out in there. Good, I growled, gulping down a swig. She deserves it. Tom leaned back, arms crossed. So, what's next? You gonna write back? I shook my head. Nope. Jennifer can deal with it, send it back or whatever. Eric arched a brow. Sure, might feel good to rip into her yourself. I paused, tempted, but nah, she'd love the attention. Let her stew, I said. She'll figure it out when the divorce papers hit. Tom nodded. Smart. Don't give her anything to twist. We sat quiet for a beat, the reality sinking in. Then Eric grinned. Hey, at least you've got a hell of a story for the grandkids. I laughed, first real one in days. Yeah, how Grandpa met your grandma, part 2. How Grandpa dumped her. Tom chuckled. Classic. I folded the letter neatly and stashed it in a drawer. Out of sight, out of mind. All right, enough. Let's play cards. We gathered around the table, chips rattling, cards flicking. For a while, it felt normal, almost like before. But mid-game, my phone pinged. Jennifer, got the letter. I'll return it with a note. Also, we're filing tomorrow. You ready? I stared at the screen, her words heavy. Filing for divorce. Ending 3 years. My thumb lingered over the reply, a tiny flicker of doubt creeping in. Was I ready? Could I really cut the cord? Then my eyes flicked to the drawer, the letter lurking inside. Yeah, I was done. I typed, let's do it. Tom caught my look, eyebrow up. All good? I nodded, setting the phone down. Yeah, just locking it in. Eric dealt the next hand, smirking, to burning bridges. I raised my beer, and building new ones. We clinked bottles, the sound crisp and final. No turning back now. I sat opposite Jennifer, my lawyer, in her modest law office with flickering fluorescents and scuffed linoleum. She tapped a pen against her legal pad, eyes sharp. We're filing for emotional distress, Mike. The photos, the messages, it's solid. He won't wriggle out of this. I nodded, my jaw tight. Good, I want him to bleed. Jennifer's lips twitched a ghost of a smile. We'll make sure of it. She slid a folder across the table. Inside were screenshots of Sarah's Instagram posts, time-stamped texts, and affidavits from strangers who tipped me off. It was a mountain of evidence, and Jake was about to be buried under it. 2 weeks later, I found myself in a sterile conference room. Jake sat flanked by his lawyer, a wiry man with a pinched face. Jennifer stood at the head of the table, cool and composed. Your client, she said, voice like ice, has been involved in an extramarital affair with my client's wife for over a year. We have proof of at least 30 encounters, including the incident that led to their arrest. Jake's lawyer scoffed. This is baseless. My client denies any wrongdoing. Jennifer didn't blink. She opened her briefcase, pulled out a thick envelope, and slid it across the table. Then explain these. The lawyer's face paled as he sifted through the contents photos of Jake and Sarah at diners, parks, that damned motel. Messages detailing their meetups. Jake's smirk faltered, his throat bobbing as he swallowed hard. We're seeking $85,000 in damages, Jennifer continued. Emotional distress, loss of consortium, the works. Jake shot up, chair scraping. This is ridiculous. It was a one-time thing, and their marriage was already... Save it, I cut in, my voice low and lethal. I leaned forward, eyes boring into Jake's. You think I don't know about the weekends you snuck off together? The business trips that were just excuses to shack up? Jake's mouth opened, then snapped shut. His lawyer placed a hand on his arm, murmuring, Don't. But the damage was done. The room knew. Jake's bravado crumbled, his shoulders slumping as he sank back into his seat. 3 days later, I heard the news from Jennifer over the phone. He settled, she said. $85,000, as requested. And I got word he was fired this morning. I stood in my half-packed living room, boxes stacked like monuments to my old life. A slow, grim smile spread across my face. It wasn't just the money, though, that helped. It was the justice of it all. Jake, the smug bastard who'd wrecked my marriage, now jobless and humiliated. I later learned that his boss, a stern man with a reputation for zero tolerance, had called him into the executive suite. We've had complaints, he'd said, voice clipped. Clients are pulling out. They don't want their names tied to scandal. Jake's world had imploded, just as mine had when I got that call. Except this time, I was the one watching from the other side. I hung up, grabbed a box labeled kitchen, and sliced it open with a box cutter. Inside, a framed photo of me and Sarah on our honeymoon. I stared at it for a moment, then tossed it into the trash bag at my feet. One chapter closed. Time to start the next. The jail's visiting room smelled like bleach and regret, a sterile cube of gray concrete walls and scuffed linoleum floors. A scratched plexiglass partition stretched across the middle, dividing the space into two worlds. Inmates on one side, visitors on the other. Black foam receivers hung from metal cords, swaying slightly as if restless. Above, fluorescent lights hummed, their cold glare bouncing off the surfaces, leaving no room for shadows or softness. I sat on a molded plastic chair that creaked under my weight, my hands balled into fists on my thighs. Beside me stood Jennifer, my lawyer, her navy blazer crisp against the drab surroundings. She set her briefcase on the narrow ledge in front of the glass, her movements precise, deliberate. She'll be here soon, Jennifer said, her tone clipped, professional. Keep it focused, Mike. We're here to get the papers signed, nothing more. Yeah, I muttered, my voice rough. My mouth felt like sandpaper, and I couldn't tell if it was nerves or the stale air. I know. A heavy clang echoed as the metal door on the inmate side swung open. Sarah stepped through, flanked by a guard whose face looked carved from granite. She was a ghost of the woman I'd married her. Chestnut hair hung limp and greasy. Her orange jumpsuit sagged on her frame, too big for her shrunken shoulders. Dark smudges circled her eyes, and her lips were raw, bitten to ruin. When she saw me, her face twisted, a flash of hope drowned by desperation. She shuffled to the chair opposite me, collapsing into it like her legs couldn't hold her anymore. Her hands shook as she grabbed the phone, pressing it to her ear. I lifted mine, the plastic cool and slick against my palm. Her voice crackled through the line, fragile and urgent. Mike, oh God, Mike, you came. I knew you wouldn't leave me here. My jaw tightened. I'm not here for you, Sarah. I'm here for this. I jerked my chin toward Jennifer, who slid a manila envelope from her briefcase and laid the divorce papers flat on the ledge. Sarah's eyes flicked to the papers, then snapped back to me, wide and wild. What? No, Mike. No, please, don't do this. We can fix it. I messed up, I know, but we can. Stop it, I said, cutting through her words like a blade. Don't sit there and lie to my face, not after everything. Tears welled in her eyes, spilling over as her lip trembled. I'm not lying. It was a mistake. A stupid, awful mistake. Jake didn't mean anything. I was lonely, Mike. You were always gone, working late, and I felt like I didn't exist. I gripped the phone so hard I thought it might crack, my knuckles blanching. So that's your excuse? I'm out there breaking my back to keep us afloat, and you're screwing around because you're bored? No. She shook her head, frantic, her hair whipping across her face. That's not what I'm saying. I missed you. I missed us, the way it used to be. There is no us, I said, my voice low, cold. You made sure of that. She choked on a sob, pressing her free hand to her mouth. Please, don't say that. We can try again counseling. Whatever you want, I'll do anything. Jennifer shifted beside me, tapping her watch with a manicured nail. Time's short. Let's keep this moving. I nodded, sliding the papers closer to the glass. Sign them, Sarah. Let's be done with it. She stared at the documents, her breath hitching. I can't. I won't. I love you, Mike. Doesn't that count for something? Her words hit me like a punch, and I shut my eyes, fighting the ache in my chest. Love. She dared to throw that word at me now. You loved me so much you climbed into bed with Jake, let him put his hands all over you while I was working doubles? Her shoulders jerked, a sharp gasp escaping her. It wasn't like that. It was one time. One stupid, drunk night. I hated myself after. Then, why'd I find a year's worth of texts? I snapped, leaning forward until my forehead nearly touched the glass. You think I'm that dumb? She flinched, shrinking into herself. I don't know why. I was lost, okay? Jake made me feel seen, wanted. But it wasn't real, Mike. You're real. You're my husband. A laugh tore out of me, sharp and bitter, echoing in the booth. Not for long. Jennifer stepped in, her voice cutting through the haze. Sarah, if you refuse to sign, this goes to trial. It'll drag out, get ugly court records, public humiliation. You've got nothing left to bargain with. Sarah's gaze darted to Jennifer, then back to me, pleading. Mike, think about it. Our house, our life. We were happy aunts, don't you remember? I stared at her, and for a moment, I saw it. Her in that white sundress on our honeymoon, laughing as we danced barefoot on the beach. Sunday mornings with coffee and her terrible pancakes. The way she'd curl into me on the couch. But those images twisted, overlaid with the grainy motel photos. The texts I'd read until my eyes burned. That's dead, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. You burned it to the ground. No, she whimpered, shaking her head as tears streaked her face. We can rebuild. I'll change. I'll prove it to you. I looked away, my throat tight. A piece of me wanted to reach through that glass, to believe her promises. But trust was a shattered thing, and I couldn't glue it back together. You had your chance, I said. You blew it. Mike, please, she whispered, her voice cracking like thin ice. I'm begging you, don't throw us away. I met her eyes, and the weight of 3 years pressed down on my love, lies, and all the in-between. You already did. The silence hung thick, a chasm neither of us could cross. Then, with a trembling hand, she reached for the pen clipped to the papers. Her fingers fumbled, the ink smearing as she scratched her name across the line. Each stroke felt like a cut, severing the last threads between us. Jennifer gathered the papers, sliding them back into her briefcase with a nod. I'll get these filed today. Sarah slumped in her chair, her head bowed, defeated. Can I call you? When I'm out? I stood, the phone still against my ear, its weight suddenly unbearable. Don't waste your time. We're finished. Her sob crackled through the line as I hung up, the receiver clattering into its cradle. I turned and walked out, Jennifer's heels clicking beside me. The door buzzed shut behind us, and I felt it the end of something heavy, and the start of something I couldn't yet name. The living room was a maze of cardboard boxes, each one labeled in Sharpie. Kitchen, books, misc. I sat on the couch, its cushions sagging under me, and stared at the empty walls where our photos once hung. The house felt hollow, like it was ready for someone else's story to take root. My phone buzzed on the coffee tablet text from Tom. "You good, man? Need help with the move?" I typed back, "Nah, almost done. Beers later?" "Deal," he replied, adding a thumbs up emoji. I stood, stretching my arms overhead, and grabbed the last box of small one marked "Sentimental." Inside was a mess of old letters, ticket stubs, and a framed photo of Sarah and me on our wedding day. Her smile was radiant, eyes crinkling at the corners. I looked like a guy who'd hit the jackpot. Now it was just a relic. I traced the frame with my thumb, then set it aside. Maybe I'd toss it later. Maybe not. The television flickered in the corner, tuned to the local news. A cheerful anchorwoman chirped about traffic before shifting to a segment on local scandals. My ears perked up as they flashed Jake's mugshot from his arrest. "Former real estate executive Jake Wilson's legal troubles deepen," she said, with new lawsuits piling up after his firing from Prestige Realty. I snorted, a grim satisfaction settling in my chest. Jake's downfall was public now, his smug face plastered across every screen in town. Couldn't have happened to a better guy. The anchor continued. In related news, Sarah Thompson, arrested alongside Wilson, was released from county jail this morning. Sources say she's facing steep legal fees and potential civil suits. I clicked the television off, the silence falling like a heavy curtain. Sarah was out. Part of me wondered if she'd try to reach me, despite the restraining order. But honestly, I didn't care. She was a stranger now, a shadow of someone I once loved. My phone buzzed again, Eric this time. "Heard Jake's company tanked. Karma's a bitch, huh?" I chuckled, replying, "Couldn't agree more." Prestige Realty had shut its doors last week, the scandal too toxic for clients to ignore. Jake was jobless, drowning in debt, and his wife had taken him to the cleaners in their divorce. Meanwhile, Sarah was slinging drinks at some dive bar downtown, trying to scrape together the $50,000 she owed me. Funny how fast the tables turned. I grabbed my jacket and keys, locking the front door behind me. The "for sale" sign in the yard swayed in the breeze, a quiet signal that this chapter was ending. My new place was smaller, a rental across town, but it was Menino ghosts, no echoes. Tom and Eric were already at the bar when I got there, beers in hand. Tom slid one my way as I sat. "To fresh starts," he toasted. I clinked my bottle against his. "And to dodging bullets." Eric leaned in, grinning. "Heard Sarah's working at that sketchy joint off Main. Think she'll last?" I shrugged, sipping my beer. Not my problem anymore. Tom clapped me on the shoulder. "Atta boy, you're better off." I nodded, feeling the truth of it settle in. It wasn't just about the divorce or the money, it was about taking back my life, my pride. Sarah and Jake could stew in their chaos. I was done hauling their weight. We drank and laughed, the bar's noise folding around us like a warm hug. For the first time in months, I felt light, free. The path ahead was blurry, but it was mine to carve. Driving home that night, the city lights streaking past my windshield. A spark of hope flared in my chest. Maybe this was freedom messy, real and wide open.